In this video, I'll show you how I quickly sketch and paint two different trees using simple shapes, loose lines, and light and shadow. I'll also show you how I use watercolor from light to dark to make the trees look more natural without spending forever on the details. Before we start, let's quickly talk about light and shadow. Let's say the light is coming from the upper right, so the lighter part will be on the upper right while the shadow will fall towards the lower left. This is the first reference. This tree has a fairly simple and rounded shape, so I'll start by drawing the overall shape of the leaves. Don't draw the individual leaves, just use loose and quick lines to capture the general shape of the tree. Once I have the main shape, I'll draw the trunk underneath it. Now let's move on to watercolors. Start with the lightest color, keep the paint loose, and let the colors flow into each other. The light is coming from the upper right, so I'll keep that area lighter and make the lower left side darker. Then gradually transition into darker greens. The important thing here is to go from light to dark instead of putting the darkest color everywhere. The upper right side stays lighter while the lower left side gets the darkest green. Don't worry too much about staying perfectly inside your lines. In fact, I like to put a little bit of color outside the lines. This makes the painting feel more loose and natural instead of looking like everything was carefully filled in. For the trunk, I'll do the same thing. I'll start with a lighter brown and gradually make the shadow areas darker. Add the cast shadow on the ground extending toward the lower left, following the direction of our light source. I'm also adding splatter marks because they break up the clean edges and make the sketch more interesting. And that's our first tree. Now let's move on to the second reference. This one is a little different because the shape of the tree is more irregular. Instead of starting with the leaves, I'm going to start with the trunk and branches. Again, I'm keeping everything loose. I'm not trying to make every branch perfect. I'm just looking for the main direction and structure of the tree. Once I have the trunk and the branches, I'll start adding the overall shape of the group of leaves. And think of the leaves as big masses rather than hundreds of individual leaves. For this tree, let's say light is coming from above, so the upper part of the tree will receive more light while the shadow will be underneath. I'll start with the lighter colors on top and gradually transition into darker colors as I move forward. So again, I'm going from light to dark. You can use different shades of green, but you don't need too many colors. The important thing is creating a clear difference between the light and the shadow areas. Once the leaves are done, I'll move back to the trunk and branches. I'll start with a lighter brown and gradually add darker areas where the branches overlap and where the light doesn't reach. Then I'll add some darker shadow underneath the tree. This helps anchor the tree and makes it feel like it's actually sitting on the ground. And finally, some more splatter. Again, this is just to add a little more texture and make the sketch less flat and boring. That's how I quickly sketch and paint trees. The main thing to remember is that you don't have to draw every single leaf. Start with the big shapes, keep your lines loose, and think about where your light and shadows are coming from. With watercolor, start with your lightest colors and gradually build up to the darkest areas. Sometimes drawing less can actually make your tree look more natural and expressive. I hope this tutorial helped you, and I'll see you in the next one.